Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about Part C of IDEA. IDEA has three parts. Part A discusses the regulatory policies and procedures of implementing the law. Part B covers ages 0 through 21. And Part C is the most recent addition to IDEA. Part C addresses children from 0 through age 3, and it came into the law in 1986. What's unique about Part C is it is not mandated by federal law to be implemented. States have the option to implement a 0 to 3 program while keeping in mind that they do get additional federal funding if they do decide to implement. Under age 3, we have multiple services. The plan looks very different. It's focused on the family and not on the child. Many different service agencies come into play in meeting the needs of a child with special needs between the ages of 0 and 3. At the time the child turns 3, there's the opportunity to transition them to an IEP and off of a family service plan onto an individualized education plan. However, if the IFSP and IEP teams decide that the child needs to stay on an IFSP, they can do so until the age of 5 or until kindergarten, whichever comes first. Procedural safeguards apply the same as they do for Part B on an IEP. Parents should receive their procedural safeguards at the time of assessment, whenever requested, and whenever needed. The contents and parts of the IFSP, as I mentioned, are family-centered. What is it that the family needs in order to support this child in the home environment? So the IFSP, or Individualized Family Service Plan, really takes into account what kind of education do the parents need in order to support this child. Oftentimes services are brought into the home instead of the child going to a place for services. As mentioned, interagency, school districts, early childhood technical centers, occupational therapy, physical therapy, medical doctors could all be involved in this process. And again, the transition, whether that be at age 3 or at age 5, takes place with the local school district or county office. So do the LRE requirements of the IDEA apply to preschool children with disabilities? Under Part C, we really don't look at LRE, the least restrictive environment. Rather, we have an obligation that the child be educated in their natural environment. And what that means is that these children with disabilities are interacting with their peers who are typical. So the natural environment would be a preschool setting where other children without disabilities are educated. And must all transition services be provided by the local education agency, which is the district, and or at the local agency? And the answer to that is no, not necessarily. As I mentioned, these services oftentimes come into the home by an itinerant teacher who is credentialed in special education, possibly specific for preschool children, and they travel from the family's home to another family's home throughout the county.